Welcome to another edition of the Real Energy Podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Audrey and her daughter Andrea, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Welcome. Introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're here with us today.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. Oh my God, I feel so blessed being here. I'm Audrey. I am a survivor. Actually, I'm still surviving, I think. And I'm so blessed to be in here. I am just here to let everybody know that it's okay to go through this process and to share my story with breast cancer. And here's my daughter.
Hi, I'm Andrea. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm here to tell you guys about my journey, how I felt when my mom had cancer. I always have said that everything happens for some sort of reason, that there's a reason for everything. And I think there was a huge reason for why my mother was diagnosed with cancer.
So this is a very good episode because a lot of women, I was doing a lot of research on this topic, and I found something that was very interesting. The risk of a woman developing breast cancer in her life is 13%. So 1 out of every 8 women in the world at some point is going to develop breast cancer. I did not know that. So what prompted me to contact Audrey was, we're friends on Facebook, and I see her, she does
Not
a lot
just
of jogging.
on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, we're friends in life. We're friends in life. So, I found, I saw you were jogging, you're very athletic and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then one time it was a lot of jogging, and then the next time you're in the hospital. Tell us about that experience. How did you figure out that you had breast cancer? What was that process? How long have you been diagnosed?
I'm still processing.
Yeah.
I think you don't process that. Nobody processes that well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think anybody's ready to hear those words. You have cancer. No one is ready for that. So I normally didn't check like most women supposed to, doing the mammogram every 6 months or whatever. My last mammogram was on 2014. So I was really bad on that area. And just one day I checked myself in the shower, and I checked, and there was a lump underneath my right breast, under my nipple. There was maybe the size of I want to say a nut.
How long ago was that?
That was almost a year.
Oh, wow. So it's recent. Okay.
May 17 would be a year of my diagnosed. And then I felt another lump underneath my armpit. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's not good.
Under the same armpit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything was on the right side. Nothing developed on the left breast. So I was lucky there. I think that's one of the things that you should always check early. Because if I wouldn't pay attention, then it would mark and go to the left side. And actually, my doctor told me that it went into my armpit because it was far. So it was first started on the breast, and by the time it moved here, that means it was stage 3. So it has gone far enough, and that was bad. And then I talked to my doctor, and he was like, the good thing is I had good doctors around me. So they were like, okay, you think it's this? Let's do this. Let's do a mammogram. And then the same day of the mammogram, they did an ultrasound. And my husband was with me, and he was waiting in the car because it was still, COVID time where, not everybody was allowed in the medical offices. So I went by myself, and then they did the ultrasound, and they were like, did you came alone? And I was like, okay, that's not a good sign. Why are they asking me that? And I was like, well, my husband is in the car. And they're like, okay, you should tell him to come in. And I was like,
no.
So you felt a little something wrong?
Did it move? Did it move?
No.
So you had 2 lumps,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so you had
So
one
it
here.
was
So-
one in the lymph node, I assume?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
then one is in the breast and the other one went all the way to the lymph nodes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I was like, oof, you feel that heat on you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's not a good sign. So I was like, honey, you need to come in. And then they were like, okay, you need to get dressed and we'll meet you in a little office. And I was like, oh, God. So I got dressed and I went into a small, tiny office, and my husband was already sitting in there. And then this doctor comes in and, you know, he holds my hand and he's like, okay, we see something here that doesn't seem normal. And I was like, oh, my God, what do you mean? And then, well, there's like 2 lumps. And I was like, okay. And then my husband, of course, he's always the positive person. Like,
Pepe, shout out to Pepe.
he is never like thinks the worst. Never. He would like, the ceiling is coming down and he's like, woo!
Yeah, that's Pepe.
Everything
We can
is
see the
okay.
sky.
Yes, he's totally like
That's
that.
Pepe. He's a ray of sunshine.
Oh my God. And I'm like already in tears, like, okay, I have cancer. Like I already took it in as this is a bad thing. He just like questions the doctor, like, well, this could be just a mass thing, fat. Sometimes women had fat in their breasts, and it does not mean that it's cancer. And the doctor's like, block him and was like, look, I'm the doctor.
Yeah. Let me do my job here, buddy.
I went to school for this. I have a certification that says I know what this is.
It was
You're
funny.
like, my name is Doctor. Your name is Pepe. Calm down.
Totally, because he was trying to look the positive way, and the doctor was like, no, I'm the doctor, and I'm telling you that there's concern here. This is not okay. We need to do
Biopsy?
the biopsy procedure on her right away, and then we'll fully know. But just to let you know, this is not looking good. And we're like, tears, totally.
What were those emotions like? Like,
I feel like I'm reliving it right now.
Yeah?
Like I feel hot inside right now. I'm like, I need water.
yeah, take your time. Take your time.
But it was hard. You
Yeah.
know? You feel scared, totally scared. I thought, okay, I never thought all of this would happen, and go in the car. He was holding my hand. He's a pro. Like, he's been there for me through this whole process. So, but it was tough, definitely tough.
Andrea, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What were your feelings when your mom told you? And how long was it when did you tell her right away?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, we did. Yeah.
I think it was like speechless because I was a little bit scared because I've heard all these things about people getting diagnosed with like cancer, and I was like, wait, what? Like, when did this happen? And she just started crying, and that made me cry throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're pretty active, right? You're a jogger.
Yeah.
Were there any symptoms at all? Did you suffer
No.
any fatigue, anything?
No, I have a friend. Her name is Marinelli. Shout out to her when she sees this because she's on Facebook. She at some point got worried of me. She was like, "Hey, I think you're doing too much."
Like the jogging and all
Like
that?
jogging and then biking and walking. Like, she's like, "Hey, take it down a notch. You're doing too much." And I was like, "No." And I wanted to do something hiking, and I was very active. I was trying to do, never thought that being healthy. I tried to eat, being a vegetarian as much as I can.
Oh, what about
Whatever that
You're
means.
a vegetarian? Yeah, we got a veggie cat. We got a veggie cat over there.
Whatever that means. Like, I try to do being a vegetarian as much as I can, but then
Were you always a vegetarian? Like,
no.
Was
She's
it
from
after you-
Venezuela. She's
That was
Venezuelan.
recently.
So recently, okay.
yeah,
so it was
recently I was like, trying to be healthier.
Before cancer? Before cancer?
Yes,
Okay,
before
okay.
cancer. But then you put a bunch of tapas, prosciutto in front of me, and you put salami in front of me, and I totally forget what healthy means. Like I would be healthy and doing veggie burgers and all that, but then my husband will put a cheese platter with prosciutto and all these things.
Shout out to Pepe.
So part of what I was doing a little bit of, Google research, right? And Google research, I was just Googling a bunch of stuff on breast cancer. And it's interesting that you said that you didn't have any symptoms. So 60 to 70% of people with breast cancer have no risk factors. Like you can't tell, right?
No risk factors or no symptoms.
Symptoms.
Okay.
So symptoms. Basically, the new lump in the breast under the arm. That's what you said. Thickening and swelling of part of the breast, and dimpling of the breast skin. Those are some of the signs of breast cancer. So you said that you didn't really check yourself that often. So we have a bunch of women here, starting with you, Miss Patricia. Do you?
Hell no. I don't want to know, Patrick, and you know this
You just
about
want to go.
me.
You just want to go. Like
I know. Okay. I've never had a mammogram. I do let my doctors feel me up.
feel you up.
I
don't make it sexual.
I don't do self exams because to me everything feels like a lump. So that's I should. I think. Well, there's a lot of different guidelines depending on which organization. If you look at a chart for mammograms, like some say 50 and over, some say 45 and over. Some doctors want you to have baseline at 35 years old. Some want you to have baseline at 40 years old. So I'm 47, and I know that's shocking, listeners.
Gasp.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I've never had a mammogram, and it's a bone of contention a little bit with my doctor because I'm like, I don't want to know about some stage 0 ductal cancer thing that I have to go into like some kind of treatment. Like la.
Yeah.
That's
Stephanie?
I probably check myself twice a week. Like I make it a habit
Oh,
that
you're good.
whenever I shave my underarms, it's usually about
Is
twice a week.
Is it because of anything?
It is just because it was drilled into me when I was a kid that we should be
Yeah.
doing these exams every single month. And then I was like, it's a really good time to remember when I'm shaving my underarms.
She checks
And
while she
that's-
showers.
Yeah, I check while I shower.
That's supposed to be really good. Arm over the head.
Yeah, because that's like literally like
you have to put your head.
Yeah.
yeah,
up
but
and-
breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, those cervical, those things don't run in my family. We're definitely more like high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack. Like that's what plagues my family.
So, Tanya revealed on our last podcast episode that she had two things, breast cancer and thyroid cancer.
Yeah, the thyroid was found from the breast cancer.
So
That was fun.
So
Gee,
part of
I need to pay attention to that.
so understand, so I keep on, referencing back to Joy and the Coconut, Michelle, because she said some very interesting things. She said that energies align, right? And there's a reason why people are associated with each other, right? Audrey and I, we've known each other for almost 20 plus years, right? And,
Yeah.
You've got breast cancer. You have people that have died of cancer. So there's a reason why energies align, right? And I thought when I saw that, I said, we have a podcast here, and I try to say this a lot, is just get it into the universe, because there's one thing in dealing with a situation and trying to just deal with it yourself, but sometimes when you are able to just let it out into the universe and just breathe, you let it breathe, let it fester, because I'm sure you didn't tell Facebook land that you had breast cancer, right?
No, I didn't put it on there until beginning of the year.
When you were doing your treatment.
Well, and that was afterwards. I did a, like the end of the year.
Yeah.
thing, and I basically just told everybody, hey,
I do.
this is what my year consisted of. This is a new year. Get your life right for the new year. So that was when I revealed it on Facebook.
So she found it when she did an exam. What was your indication?
So in what is this, 2023? In 2021, my dad had triple bypass, and so the next year, last year. So last year I was like, okay, maybe it's 2022. I was like, okay, now I'm 50 years old. I got to go do all these things. So I went, did my annual. I was going to all my doctors. I like checking off the boxes. So I went to the OBGYN. I hadn't been for 3 years, obviously because of COVID, and I hadn't had a mammogram. And so that was on my list, and I went and got my heart checked and did the running on the thing, all that good stuff. So I forgot about the mammogram. My daughter's like, Mom, don't forget you have to do your mammogram. I'm like, oh yeah. So I did it. And
so uncomfortable.
It is. So I did it.
What is that process? I don't know what a mammogram
so
is.
you go into this room and you have the gown front open, and there's this big humongous machine, and they adjust it to your height, and they put your breast in it and
Smash it.
basically
Squeeze
yeah.
it,
And then,
yeah.
So is it an X-ray basically?
Yeah, it's basically
Okay.
an X-ray, but it's
squeeze.
2 pieces of glass, and it's
Oh,
got
wow.
a line
Yeah.
on it
Yeah.
and numbers, and then you realize how really
then this way,
I realize
too.
how
They
big my
flatten
boobs are.
the tissues
Yeah,
to
they
see.
literally.
Planted it like this and
Yeah.
then like this.
Yeah,
So they can see really tiny.
yeah.
So they get into your personal spaces.
But
Oh yeah, the machine's right here when they're
Yeah.
here, and the
Yeah.
breast is like
But there can be some false positives, and that's what
So,
freaks
well,
me out.
I don't know if I told you guys this, but Patricia knows. On my 50th birthday, I found a lump in my groin section. Right, so I was scared.
Freaking out.
I was
Freaking out.
I was
Freaking out.
for 3 months. Like I was like, do I need to go see a doctor? Or do I have testicular cancer? I didn't know what was going on. So I went to the doctor, and I had, she gave me the uncomfortable exam, right? And
it was fun.
My husband, I was gonna say my husband doesn't think it's uncomfortable.
Oh no, he felt so violated after because he had like 3 different doctors.
Especially if it's a hot Russian nurse.
But anyway, so I had this lump, and I was feeling it every day. I was like, oh my god, this is it. I have testicular cancer. I went and had a sonogram done, right? So they sonogram your area and find out it was just a calcium buildup. And she said, don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about it. If it gets bigger, we'll remove it. But, just for her sake, just not knowing and then finding out and not doing anything about it, it's kind of scary. It's like,
It is.
I have to know. And I was dealing with that whole process of going to the doctor, or automatically just thinking there's nothing of it. But
yeah, but you should go. Patricia. You should go because one, you need a baseline.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. You need
Yes.
They need
Not
a baseline.
if you're not going to do treatment, Tanya.
Yeah, but even still, but look,
Are you
look
really-
at,
but
look
Okay,
at
but
people.
let's not focus
please,
this
talk
on
to
me.
me.
Let's
Really?
not focus this
No,
on me.
but the
my
thing
husband
is
do it
I
like
was
that.
lucky because I caught mine early. So I was lucky, and it's not
You're
that
at stage 1, right?
I was at stage 1. Mine was the size of half of a pea, and
Oh,
so
my
they literally
goodness.
I just
Yeah,
caught it.
mine was
So for me, my recovery was, and I hate to say it like this, it compared to hers is simple. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was a pain in the butt, but it was also simple.
No,
and
sure. I mean, they're degrees.
Did you do
Right.
chemo?
I didn't have to do chemo. I had to do radiation, but I only had to do it for 5 days. Not that but it doesn't make a difference. 5 days of radiation still feels like 500 days of loneliness.
Yeah. So let's talk. Let's
I am
talk about
blessed.
that.
I didn't have to do radiation.
It's horrible.
Let's talk
But-
about that. So after you got, you guys figured out that you had breast cancer, what was next? Like,
No, the process is horrible.
Yeah.
The process, getting before having your first appointment of chemotherapy is the worst. And I think my worst exam was the CAT scans. The
CAT scan?
MRI. Sorry, the
Oh,
MRI.
God.
The MRI was horrible for me, and I was
Did you have surgery?
yeah.
So this is the MRI before surgery, right?
So it was like being claustrophobic and being
Yeah, of
machine.
course.
and you're
like-
laying face down.
Well, before surgery, they do it. Actually, I had 2 done, and I think the second one was the worst. The first one is face down, and your breasts are like
in a cup thing or something.
yeah, that
It's
was
so weird.
So weird. You're like underneath, and then you go in, and then you're looking down, and the
Yeah, flapping
the
around.
flopping around like
And you
your
see the
breasts
floor.
are like in
It's horrible.
in a sexual position, but you're not having fun.
Yeah, no fun. No fun.
I was high. They had to give me Xanax. So
And then they do the bone density test.
forgot about that. Yep.
That was also very uncomfortable because they have that machine that it goes like this.
All over your
and
body.
then it's like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. You hear this thing. No. All of the tests pre-chemotherapy are the worst. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, here we go. My first chemo.
How long was that between when you got diagnosed?
So my first chemo was in June 30th
of last year?
of last year.
But you had surgery too?
No, my mastectomy
Oh, you had
surgery was on November
after.
16 after my
Did you do a double or just the one?
double.
Okay.
Double. I don't think I could handle having. I was lucky I had the choice. I could have just do only one, or I could just not do mastectomy at all. But I was like, I'm not doing this again.
So what was the
Yeah.
reason for the mastectomy, right?
I don't want to go through this breast cancer again. And it's not guaranteed, but there's less risk that you will suffer from breast cancer again if you do a double mastectomy. So it was a big deal. It was a big decision. Like, because my best friend, her name is Marigenia Xiao. She's like a sister to me. And she had breast cancer when she was like in her 30s. She didn't have a mastectomy. She just, did radiation and chemo, and they just cut a little piece, and that was it. I was like, hell no, I'm not going through this. To just cut that off and let me live my life long. And I don't care what the percentage is, because the doctors actually said, you should not have to go through mastectomy because you only have one breast. And I was like, yeah, but are you going to guarantee me that my left one is not going to have this? And they're like, no, but you can also not guarantee that if you do the mastectomy, you will not having another cancer. But there is a percentage that you won't. And I was like, well, then there's my 1%, 2-3%.
What was that fear? What was the driving force to that decision of having?
Even if I have to 1-3% of being safe, I want to have that 3% for my kids.
Yeah, it was a fear. So it was fear.
I don't want to die. I wanted to survive for my family, for my girls, and I'm a fearless person. Like, you can check in Facebook. I mean, you'll have videos of me jumping from a cliff in Vermont, so and like 20 feet, into a river. Like, I have a brother who lives in the Amazon, so I am a very wild person. But for my kids, I needed to survive this. And
what was that first thought? Who or what was that first thought when you got diagnosed?
I got this. I was crying, and I think my husband was like, I think he's my rock, not just my kids, but going through this alone, it's very hard. And the fact that he held my hand when we were in the oncologist and he said, we have cancer, that was very hard for me.
Yeah.
And the fact that he took it like it was his too, that was hard. Because you think you go through this because you have cancer, but your whole family goes through this, And when he held my hand and he said, we got this, we gonna beat this, I was like, wow, this is a good man.
And for everybody that's don't know Audrey, and I can tell you, I've known them for a very, very long time, and Pepe is he's like you, Haran. I literally, he is like a.
That's good news for me, huh?
Yeah, he is like a version of. He's like a version of you.
I don't know what does that mean?
He's positive. You know, like he's like it's okay. You
Way
know?
too much sometimes.
Yeah, it's like it's okay. You know, don't worry about it. You know, kind of deal. When did you start thinking about your kids?
I think when I got home.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I got home and we were like, okay, so we need to let the girls know what's going on. And
How old are all of them? I mean, we know Andre is 13.
13 and Ariana's 16. So, you know.
So they're at that age where you guys really understand it, really can process it, but you're young enough where it has huge effects. Like
I don't know if they still process. To be honest, on my motherhood side, I mean, I'll let her, speak for herself. But I think sometimes I feel like they didn't understand well enough how big it is, and it's probably because I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed that I survived. And I think unless you lose someone under this, it doesn't hit you. It does not. Because I'm still here.
And the severity of the diagnosis,
yes.
right? Like, so when I was 27, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. And she did pass away 2 years after. But thank you. But the doctor came out and was like, she maybe has... First of all, he's like, so she has stage 4 cancer. So this was my first round with cancer. So I'm all like making up numbers. I'm like, oh, so 4 is good because we count down to 0, right? Like that would be no. That's obviously we learn, later on it's the worst one. And so he said she maybe has like 3 or 4 months. So that. And I've like Arrested Development, so I was like a 16-year-old in a 27-year-old body, right? Like still kind of only child, right? Sort of baby. And I'm like, oh my God, like my mom's going to die. And then, she saw a couple other doctors and like, well, maybe longer. Anyway, long story short, she had 2 years. So I was 29 when she passed away. But I think it's also when someone's like, well, it's stage 1, 2, you have all these and not to minimize anything, but breast cancer very highly treatable if caught early, right? Testicular tube, very treated, like 95%. So
and it's worse on men, but FYI, men have breast cancer.
Oh yeah, so
men can have breast cancer.
We're gonna talk about that.
And it's a lot worse on men than on women.
The breast cancer. Oh, that's interesting.
So check this out.
Anyway, back to you guys.
Google, and we're gonna talk. I want to get into this, but each year almost 264,000 cases are diagnosed in women, and 2,400 are diagnosed in men. I did not know men can get breast cancer. Yeah. I did not know that.
Montel Williams had breast cancer.
Who?
Montel Williams had breast cancer.
Yeah, I didn't know that. He talked about it.
And he was in shape.
Yeah, he was a big advocate about it, about men getting tested for breast cancer.
Oh, yeah, wow. I didn't know either. Yeah. And I didn't know until a friend of mine said, you're going to be fine because my dad had it and he's okay, so we're going to fight this.
So what's it like for men? What do you know about how it is for men, how it's different for them, just out of curiosity?
Oh, he survived. He was fine, but it was hard. He had to go through all that thing, and my friend was like, you're gonna be good. My dad was strong and survived, and that's how
but I'm
is.
just curious. For women, clearly, you made the decision to go ahead and have a mastectomy, the double mastectomy, but for men, that's not.
Well, but you also
like what they literally, but I would imagine like literally have to dig it out of them.
Well, it would have to be muscular because if you think about it physiologically, we have places where cancer can hide. We have fat deposits. We have ducts.
Well, breasts are an appendage,
right? But they don't really have that. They're mostly muscle, so they're gonna have to take. Because my aunt that just had her cancer out, they had to take part of the muscle underneath her arm because the cancer had spread to part of the muscle. So when he got in there, he had to take, because even no matter what kind of cancer you have, they always take lymph nodes out, even in me. But they found it was wrapped around a muscle, so they literally had to like scoop some of the muscle out underneath her arm. Yeah. You know what I mean? So men would be the same way. They would just scoop it out around, and they take out a certain amount around wherever they find cancer. I forgot what it is.
When they remove lymph nodes, there's that feeling in your arm. It's terrible. That feeling, I still have it. It's gonna stay there for a while. They said maybe a couple of years. So from I have a scar right here about this big, and they remove only 2 lymph nodes. But from here to here, I feel like it's numb.
Wow.
and it's gonna stay like that
Until
for a
it
while.
Like
repairs
static numb.
Yeah, and it's awful feeling. So imagine those people that they remove 10 lymph nodes.
Oh yeah. Some people
It's
a lot.
so awful.
Yeah.
Like no one knows, and it's like with the mastectomy.
How many did you get removed?
2.
Okay.
Only 2.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
God.
mine was like that too, but mine was in the center of my breast, so it the feeling wasn't necessarily there. I mean, I did feel initially like, I don't know, I don't want to say something was
Tingling.
missing, or it just felt odd for a bit. I don't feel it now. It's been, had my surgery last June, so it's been almost a year for me.
Wow.
But I don't really feel anything. But for months, I did feel like, I don't know, maybe tingling's a good way to describe it. You know, even though mine was like literally in the center, so mine wasn't on the outside.
Did you had a mastectomy or a double mastectomy?
They did no. They did a lumpectomy.
Oh, okay, that was my other
But
choice.
they took my
Okay, y'all gonna have to.
Lumpectomies were just
They take
Dr.
the
Simon,
tumor.
Dr. Simon, where they just take the lump out and
Yeah.
like a margin around it
Yeah.
rather than the
it's still
whole-
considered a
the
mastectomy.
lump of
the cancer.
the tumor.
lump.
Okay.
The tumor.
Yeah, they take the tumor out, but they also, well, it's considered a lumpectomy and a mastectomy because they take lymph nodes out around it. So they literally had to like, I don't know exactly. I'm going to say it my way. They had to move some stuff around to make my breast rounded
again.
again.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can,
Like,
it can like
yeah.
mess up the shape.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
they had to do something. So it's considered a mastectomy and a lepectomy because when they gave me the paper, I was like, wait, why is this word on here? I need you to explain why it says mastectomy. Said you're just going to scoop this thing out. I need some. And they're like, oh, we're going to have to like move, I guess, tissue around so that it's round again.
Like,
You
did
have
they
to
have to like
rebuild your
replace your
breast.
nipple and everything like that?
No,
or
they
was it
actually
just out
cut right
the
on top of
side?
right on the edge of my nipple is where my scar is. So my doctor is great. Hernian Vargas, shout out. The line is right there. It's kind of like my thyroid. You can't see. It's on the
Yeah.
line, so you can't see it unless if I showed it to you and said pointed out, you'd be like, oh yeah, I see it, but you wouldn't be able to see it in general.
Yeah.
So
I don't have that. Oh, I forgot I have to. I don't have the line. I do have my whole nipple because many years ago I had a breast reduction. Way before I met Patrick. I was in my 20s, and they took half of a kilos from each. So they were huge. And because of that reason, which it was a good thing, then my scarf is underneath here, and then they just cut around my nipple. So I'm not a normal mastectomy scarf that
That's
is straight
amazing.
line,
Wow.
which is very hard to see, by the way. Shout out to you, because
yeah, my doctor was amazing.
oh my gosh, like see you with that scarf in the middle.
Yeah.
I see myself in the mirror right now, and I got new boobs out of bed. That's the good
So
thing.
you had to do the spacers after and all that?
No, so I was lucky. I got straight into implants. Most of the
That's
people
good.
do the expanders, and then they have to wait. They go through radiation, and then they have the implants. And I still have to do another surgery after my whole process finish. When they take out the port, which I
How
still
much more
have.
chemo do you have left?
Till June. Active chemo finished on October 16 last year.
Okay.
But this chemo that is natural is until June 8, which is your
Yeah, my
birthday.
birthday.
Woo!
So I want to get into the treatment, radiation, chemo, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
before we get into it, let's get back to when you told your daughters. What was that like? What did you tell? What did you tell them?
I think I blocked that from my head.
Yeah? You remember the conversation?
I don't think I remember the conversation.
I think I
just-
said both of them down with my husband, and I think I was crying. I'm always crying. I'm a crier. I'm a wimp. And I said to them, girls, mommy unfortunately has breast cancer, and I'm going to go through treatment, and we're going to beat this, and I'm going to need your help, your support, because mom is going to go through a treatment that is very strong to my body. It kills the white cells and the good cells and the bad cells, and I'm going to be very weak, and you're going to have to step up your notch more than usual. Mom is not going to be able to cook and do all these things because I'm going to be very weak. So I think they started crying, and they literally the next day when they went to school and they told their friends, I think they both said that they spent the whole day crying. I did talk to their teachers, because in one of the things, they give you this book when you're diagnosed. It's like a Bible.
Yep.
Oh my God. I read 3 chapters and I started crying and I put it away and my husband.
What was it? Talk about it.
They just have all any information that you could ever think that you never knew you
awful.
needed is in that book.
Like what? Like, I mean, what made you cry in that was in that book? What was?
Well, because they tell you what you're going to go through. And I haven't even started the process. I haven't even,
You're still processing the information.
Exactly.
And you still got to do your what happens if you die.
all that is in the book.
Yeah.
That scared you a little bit?
and
Side
have-
effects from your,
yes.
because
Yeah.
maybe it's not the cancer, it's a treatment that messes you up, right? Like all this
Everything.
stuff.
And they
Yeah.
have pictures on, how your breast is going to look if you have a lumpectomy, if you have a double mastectomy. It was way too much information.
It was information overload, right?
It was
Oh, yeah.
awful. I like closed it and cried. I remember it was like in the middle of the day, and oh my goodness, my husband calls me and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He was just checking up on me, and he heard me crying like in a way that it wasn't the same, and he left work and came straight home. And I was in my bed crying, and he was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I hate that book. That book is like, tell me that I'm not gonna be pretty. I'm not gonna have breasts. I'm gonna be ugly. I'm gonna lose my hair. Oh my God, when you read that you're gonna lose your hair, my eyebrows, my lashes, I awful. Looking myself in the mirror, that's terrible. But guess what? So once again, the positive man as my husband is, I love you. He was like, guess what? Why are you going to wait for the chemotherapy to take your hair? You take it.
Yeah.
And
Take control of it.
yes, he was like, shave your head before your treatment. Don't let the chemo take your hair. You take it. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
That's
And
great
my
damn
hair-
suggestion.
Totally. My hair was like all in my back.
Oh,
and
wow.
so first I did like a pixie hairstyle like a week before, because I needed to adjust myself.
Transition.
To having short hair again. And then everybody was like, wow, you look so cool. You look hot. And I was like, okay, thank you. Okay. So that's not bad. And then one day we were watching a movie, I think, right? And then I just got up and went into my bathroom. And my husband has that
Barber kid.
Yeah. And I just took it and went. And I
Full
was like,
Charlize and Mad Max.
G.I. Jane.
totally G.I. Jane. I was like, oh my God. And then just like tears looking in the mirror. It was
What were
the
you thinking?
most emotional thing ever that I have ever experienced.
What was that? What were you
I
thinking?
was like so scared and powerful at the same time. Because I think I was like,
You're taking control of the situation.
yeah,
right?
I was like, I was taking control, but I was like, oh my God, I'm shaving my head. Shit. And then they didn't notice until like maybe 10, 15 minutes. And my husband tried to knock on the door and he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm fine. I'm okay. And he's like, do you need help? Do you want me to come in? No, I gotta do this alone. And he's like, okay, I'm here if you need me. And he left. And
He knew what you were doing, though, right?
Yes. He totally. And I just did it all by myself. And then 20 minutes later, he knocks on the door again. He's like, you okay? I'm like, yes. Do you need help? I was like, yeah, I can't get the bag.
I was just about to say that. I was like, you should give him a good fade, do a shape up, and nice, make it
I
look
was
good.
like, so I opened the door and he looks at me. He's like, you look hot.
I'm like, oh shit, I'm married to a new woman.
I was expecting something, more. I don't know if he paused and said, but again, he's so positive person. He's like, you actually look hot. You look good.
I can imagine Pepe like massaging your head. I could just imagine Pepe.
They all did. I felt like a dog in a home. Every time they passed by, they were like rubbing
It feels good,
my
right?
balls. I was
I
like,
used to have short hair. It feels good.
So Andre, talk about that. How was this whole thing with your mom? How has it affected you emotionally, and how has seeing what she has gone through, how is what is that like?
I think no one actually experienced, like she says, that we don't truly understand what she's going through. I don't have breast cancer, but every time she cries, it makes me cry, and I'm not a person who actually cries a lot, because
not at all.
I'm like kind of like a cold-hearted person.
Don't say that.
I doubt that very seriously as soon as you sound.
I like that for you.
Oh my God.
She's pretty tough.
But the moment I saw her with like no hair, it just kind of like felt odd, because all my life she's had long hair. We had the same hair length, and we would braid each other's hair, and it kind of like
Seeing her with
shocked
no hair,
me.
did that make it more real?
Yeah, it kind of like shocked me and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I think it's that when it hit when I had no hair.
Yeah.
And Andre, you said before we started that you believe everything happens for a reason, and there was a
I do.
reason for your mom's. Someone broke. Come on.
Tough girl, my foot.
That's okay. I broke earlier when you were talking about Pepe. But tell us about why you think this happened.
I don't know what it is, but I think that like it just started when our car crash, and like one of the ambulance like firefighters, they told my mom that she had an angel, and not recently, but I have a little cousin who died, and for me he's always been my angel, and like after the car crash I was like, thank you Diego, shout out to Diego, that he
Angel
was
Diego.
like always with me. And
It's true.
just the shock of seeing how my mom got breast cancer, I would like every night for sleep, I would just like pray, and I would just like talk to Diego like every single night. It just like shocked me.
So in the pre-production meeting, give you guys some context. In the pre-production meeting, we were talking, and you guys were coming from Jersey, and
Right after the diagnosis.
right after the
Or
diagnosis,
telling your family.
Yeah.
and you got into an accident. Let's talk about that for a second.